For today's story, we cover expert witness Dr. Spiegel, who has written an op-ed in Newsweek testifying about his experience testifying at the Johnny Depp trial. For today's story, we cover expert Dr. David Spiegel, who, having testified at the Johnny Depp trial, has some words he'd like to offer about his experience in a recent op-ed that was just published in Newsweek. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you'll enjoy this legal education content, and today will be the day I earn that subscription. For today's coverage, we're covering Dr. David R. Spiegel, an expert, so he says at least, who testified at the Johnny Depp trial. He had some thoughts he'd like to share, and now he has some more thoughts he'd like to share. These thoughts about his experience testifying and also what he has learned as a result from it. So we're going to read this article. Let's get started with this. My turn. I testified in the Heard versus Depp trial. The backlash has been horrific. You know, not for nothing, but it's Depp versus Heard. Depp versus Heard, doctor. Could manage to get it right. I mean, just, okay. Reading on. I heard the news that Johnny Depp had won his defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard as the verdict was being read on June 1st. I was very disappointed. First and foremost to Miss Heard, who should have received much more of an outpouring of support than she did. Okay. I have been a practicing psychiatrist for around 30 years and have previously provided medical malpractice expert witness testimony.
So my question is, it's not just diagnosis that this Goldwater rule applies to, it's professional opinions.
So again, I'll reiterate that would come down to essentially nullifying witness testimony, expert witness testimony, without direct evaluation. And as we know, it didn't happen, but regardless of that, the whole expert witness testimony thing would be basically rendered null and void.
Yeah, I'm not sure you should necessarily brag about the 30-year thing. But before Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial, I never provided witness testimony in any high-profile cases. Well, it showed. Although the expert who had testified in 50 cases and had given courses on how to be an expert witness didn't fare that much better. So all things being equal, you probably shouldn't hold yourself to that much of an account. I was asked to be an expert on this case in 2019. So I've actually been on the case for about 3 years. It had been privy to every single detail of what was happening for that period of time. But when I signed on initially, the impression I had was it would be a closed trial. Closed, not to the public. That would be reprehensible. There wouldn't be cameras and fans in court. I'm pretty sure there would have been fans in court regardless. Paparazzi outside the courthouse was never a problem. That's something I can handle. But the situation obviously took a different turn once the trial became a national televised event. That said, I had a job to do and I did my job. Again, not so sure about that last part about the you did your job part, but congratulations on you doing your job if that's what you think you did. The fact that the public could actually evaluate the trial for themselves and review all the testimony, including yours, and all the evidence, we literally got to see literally everything the jury got to see. All of it. All the things. So, not used to that, where the public has the ability to assess, but, shouldn't matter to a professional like you because this is a truth-seeking exercise and you should be thrilled the public gets to view all the evidence, of course. Before the trial, I had one 50-minute Zoom meeting with Amber Heard, and I had lunch with her between sessions on May 23rd. She was very nice, very cordial, and very polite. Do you mean that you had one 50-minute Zoom meeting with her total? That was the sum total of all of your time with her? Because, seems a little scant, but that's just me. I was very comfortable with the subject matter. I'm well versed on trauma and substance abuse, and I'm well versed on the facts of the case. Are you now? But cross-examination is something you've never fully getting prepared for, because you don't know exactly what you're going to do or say. I mean, you could just, answer the questions truthfully. That would be fine. It should be fine as an expert in particular, because you cross your I's and dot in your T's and, all that stuff. So no problem, right? What I couldn't prepare for was the reaction from the public. When I left the courthouse, I was told to leave when the witness after me was going, because the people in the gallery could not leave at that point. So when I left, they could not follow me to my car. Okay. I drove to my hotel, and around an hour later, at around 4 p.m., my wife called me and said, "Listen, I don't want you to look at what's being said." I asked her how horrific it was, and she told me it was pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, we got to listen to you and hear you and listen to every word of your testimony, and we have assessed it and found it to be somewhat wanting. I'm not a social media expert, that much is true, far from it, so I didn't expect the whole horrific post-trial backflow. It's been a little stunning to me, because nothing you said made any sense, and you're a bad communicator, and yeah, so there were problems. The volume of it, from the personal attacks on who I am and what I present like, well, those were problems. Those were problems. Your ability to present is somewhat of an important aspect of a expert at trial. Your ability to communicate and how you come off is important. See, for example, Dr. Curry, who could teach everyone classes on how to do it. Likable, simple, without being obtuse, without being reductive, without insulting the intelligence of the jury. Clear, on mission. These are good things. Yes, your ability to communicate or lack thereof is somewhat important as a expert witness. Also somewhat important as your ability to be a psychiatrist. In general, one would imagine, but maybe it's different in your clinical practices. I don't know. To what I look like and say was obviously a little hurtful. You could work on the appearance a little. I deal with people for a living, so I try to understand where these people were coming from. You're not very good at your job. At least as an expert witness, you're not very good. It's what a psychiatrist does. But the comments below the YouTube videos of me have been vile, because you're a bad expert witness. It's a race between you and Dr. Hughes. Who do we dislike more? I mean, it's hard. And some people have access to my work email, so I've gotten 4 or 5 charming editorials about myself. People might have some thoughts. Yes, my WebMD page has now been closed to comments. Now, I will take a point of noting that I do not approve of review bombing in any way. I don't approve of this. Unless you have personal experience with him in a professional capacity, I do not approve of leaving Yelp reviews or WebMD comments or any of that stuff. It's completely possible that he's a fantastic psychiatrist in a professional office setting one-on-one. I don't know. Maybe he's really, really great. I don't know. It's completely inappropriate to leave reviews unless you have personal experience. So stop doing that, people. It's a bad idea. But if you looked at the site beforehand, there are probably 7 or 8 reviews. And all of a sudden on Monday, May 23rd, and Tuesday, May 24th, there were hundreds. So it's pretty obvious what happened. Yeah, people stopped doing that. I'm an adult, and it's not the first time I've been criticized, but never like that. Well, I mean, because so many people get a chance to see it. I mean, before fewer people got a chance to see it. So fewer people were able to form an opinion. Now more people can see it, so more people can offer an opinion. And be like, you know what? You're not that great as an expert witness. Go to Dr. Curry. Maybe she can help. I bet Dr. Curry can fix even you. I have faith. On Monday and Tuesday, I had what I described as an emotional concussion. It wasn't physical. I didn't get hit on the head. Thanks for explaining that to me in small, easy to understand words. I was emotional because the feedback afterward left me a little bit numb and a dazed side. I slept a lot on Monday and Tuesday. I can understand this. I can understand it from a human side. Yeah, you have a little bit of sympathy. You're still not a very good expert witness, though, but from a human factor, I understand. I was originally going to take a vacation to see my son in New York on May 25th and then come back to Virginia on May 31st. Instead, I started my vacation a day earlier. Understandable. Definitely need to get away for a while. Breathe. Relax. Totally appreciated. Fortunately, I had a lot of support from my family. And even my patients have been emailing me. And the good news is my residents and faculty members all support me. They texted me and we've had a "We're with Dr. Spiegel" t-shirts made for me. That was comforting. So yeah, maybe he's very, very good in different settings. I couldn't speak to this. The people who are in him with these settings maybe are a better position. So maybe he's fantastic, with his other faculty members. Maybe he's fantastic with his residences. Maybe he's fantastic in clinical settings. So maybe, maybe some of this criticism is unearned and harsh. He's not a good expert witness, though. So there's that. During my career, I've dealt with people who are not guilty of murder by reason of insanity. And I've dealt with people who are psychotic and have threatened to kill me. And it's never fazed me one iota. But this did. You start realizing it just takes one person who's not saying things right. I mean, fair enough. There are some insane people out there. And no one should threaten this man. No one should be review bombing him. It is not fair to him. It's not. Leave comments in the YouTube sections if you want, but don't go beyond that. Don't harass the man. I mean, okay, he wasn't great. Let him move on. I don't think I was paranoid to the point I was shutting the blinds, but my eldest daughter is still in my house in Virginia. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I have a pit bull. I love my dog. She's a great dog, but she's still a pit bull at heart. This is probably the first time I ever thought in my life, thank God I have a pit bull. Am I glad my pit bull is there with my daughter? Yes, I am. I don't think my dog would harm anybody, but she should be at least intimidating. Well, not for nothing, doctor, but Virginia is a fairly, maybe less now since I moved because the law's changing, but it's still possible to get firearms, and firearms should be used by everyone to protect themselves. So maybe less with the pit bull and more with, other measures, but just a friendly recommendation, Everyone should protect themselves in their own home. I would have liked Mr. Depp to get ahead of this and to have said, listen, I understand you're upset, but there are ways to express how to be upset. The fact this hasn't happened says potential volumes about him. Why would Mr. Depp do this? Why would Mr. Depp do this? Why would Mr. Depp go out of his way for you? I mean, it would certainly be a nice and generous thing for him to do. And it would speak well to his character, and it would show us to be even more of a fantastic person. But why would he do this when you got up in the stand and, basically are trying to invalidate him? Remember about the whole thing about believing victims thing? Remember that? And he's a victim and you don't believe him and you're undermining him. So yeah, it would have been very, very gracious of him indeed to go out there and say those things. But, I wouldn't if I were him. I would applaud him if he did it, but it's certainly not to be expected. So I don't know why you think he would or should, but okay. Miss Heard hasn't come out and said anything either. But my opinion is she's the most vulnerable person in this situation. Why? Why isn't he vulnerable? Okay. If I had groupies and I saw them attacking and harassing someone they don't know, I would have said what I said during the trial. There are ways to express dissatisfaction and there are ways not to. But you called him a liar. You called him an idiot. You validated his abuser. I don't think you're that morally pure, but okay. I think when Mr. Depp first noticed this behavior from his fans, he should have redirected their emotions. While I still feel this intervention would be welcomed, his fans may be disarmed by the verdict in his favor. Though since the verdict, I've received a piece of derogatory mail to my professional address and one rude phone call that was fielded by my staff. Well, on balance, that doesn't sound that bad. although still it is not to be warranted. But still, I mean, you know. I have been almost totally offline since May 23rd, and I told my wife and my kids before the trial to get off their personal websites and social media platforms for at least a week before and 2 weeks after the trial. Not bad ideas. But it probably is still a little hurtful for them to see attacks on me. And for the patients I've had relationships with for years. There is potential for professional fallback. I don't think it's going to be that 80% of my patients will stop seeing me. But I do think some of them will. Who do I know who I don't know well enough? I mean, there's turnover in psychiatry, to be sure. They might. Some of my patients have suffered from intimate partner violence, have reached out to me, and have expressed that Ms. Heard's testimony was cathartic. But I never ask my patients what they think about the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case, so it may be people who will, if they think it's that important and don't know me, may drop out. Quite possibly. I mean, for any number of reasons, including maybe they don't think they're cut out to help them because you stabbed an actual survivor in the back. There could be some of that. I am also applying for the position of permanent chair of the department at my med school. It's not like I think the comments from the general population will affect anything. I'm not going to lose my job. But will the whole circus around the trial make me seem more or less like a serious academic? I don't know. Again, I couldn't really speak to that. Maybe you're a really, really good academic. I mean, not everyone can be great at everything. Maybe you're a great academic and you're great with your clinicians and you're great with your clinic staff and you're great with your other staff and you're just not good as an expert witness. I don't know. I'm not in a position to judge you as an academic. I can only judge you as an expert witness and find you somewhat wanting. My thought has always been that before we choose a hero or a star, it's important to remember that we don't know them. We know their persona. That's fair enough. I mean, that is fair enough. You know, it's the old idea about never meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed because they're more complex than your projection of them. So, okay. That's why it's also better to pick a hero that you know, like a family member or teacher, or pick a lot of different people as heroes and pick aspects of their personalities. That also helps a lot. Then you know a little bit more than you do about the person you've never spoken to in your life. Fair enough. Now, I would just like to note, for the record, that this is a puff piece written by Dr. Spiegel. And one would presume Newsweek picked a photograph of Dr. Spiegel on the stand that they thought would be flattering of him. I would like you to contemplate that as you're looking at this photograph and determine for yourself whether or not they accomplished in their goals. I would say to people that have attacked me that just like they don't know Mr. Depp, they don't know me. This is my career. This is what I do. I'm an emotions guy, so I have no problem with people expressing emotion. By people expressing emotion that's hurtful and harmful, so you have problems with that. Whether it be words or the ton of memes I've seen, they're supposed to look like me when I'm testifying. I would ask people to remember there are appropriate ways you can say you are dissatisfied with my testimony, or it may have been short-sighted. I am an expert at this. It's not like I saw one clip of Mr. Depp and then said, oh, let me judge this. Yeah, but you have problems. And also, for what it's worth, we didn't just see one clip of you. We saw your entire testimony, for better and worse. So, you know, all that stuff. Now, I wish Amber Heard emotional healing in a scenario where she was perceived by the general populace as a villainess. The trial was, in many ways, an excellent experience for me. I'm glad you liked it. If I had just been the work that I did leading up to it and the cross-examination, if it ended in a bubble, I would have said I 100% be an expert witness in the high profile case again. Now I'm 60-40 lean towards no. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, and I don't know that you're going to get a lot of opportunities to be an expert witness in a high profile case again, but I could be mistaken. Never in my life have I been a target of such voluminous amounts of hate, ever. I will process the emotion, but it will always be there. The knowledge that I was on the receiving end of such venom. Well, that was a fun and entertaining article from Dr. Spiegel. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'll end where I kind of was in the middle. I can't speak to his skills on a one-on-one setting as a clinician. I can't speak to his skills as an academic. I can't speak to his skills with his fellow professionals. I can't speak to his skills with his students. I can't speak to his skills to be an academic chair or as an academic. Can't really speak to any of that. What I can say is that he's not a very good expert witness, and Johnny Depp probably is a little sore having been called an idiot and also not being believed as the victim. So, there's that. And you say you're all for people expressing their emotions, but you don't seem to really like these particular ones, so there does seem to be some contradictions there. So, all that stuff is, yeah. So, good times. Thank you so much for being part of the Uncivil Law family. If you enjoyed this legal education content, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. We appreciate your continuing support. Until later, my friends, cheers and goodbye.